Hello, everybody. Again, I apologize for the lighting. I tried to find the best spot, but we're just going to work with what we have. Welcome to I want to say this is the third live of the month. If you guys haven't been to one of the lives before, welcome. My name is Coach Danny. If you're not familiar with who I am one of the head coaches at the Happily Committed Project and the With My Ex Again Project. And I try to do these every week. So per usual, I'm just going to give it a minute or two just to allow people into the room. Let me know where you're from. Give me a shout out. Tell me where you're listening in from. I love to see interaction within the chat. And usually what I do, obviously, is I will cover the topic at hand for the day, and then I will answer some questions towards the end of the live. If somebody can do me a favor and just let me know whether you can hear me or not, that is always one of the things that I struggle with. I want to make sure that you can hear me. Clark, McDonald's drive-thru. Nice. That's dedication. Perfect. Okay, you guys can hear me. That's amazing. All right, so we got Stockton, California. Fantastic. Where else? Do we have anybody who is international? Chicago. All right. Nettie, Glenn, Kathy, Leonard, thank you so much for letting me know that you can hear me. The Netherlands. Amazing. Hello, Merlin. How's it going? Good to see you on here. Texas. All right. Rhode Island. Nice. Forgive me, guys. It's 11 o'clock. Coffee is life at the moment. Nashville. Amazing. Ontario, New York. Yeah, see, it's not the lens. It's actually the studio lighting right above me. So that's why I said in the beginning, unfortunately, the lighting is not going to be the best for this live, but we're just going to roll with it. But thank you, Brandon. I appreciate it. From the Philippines, Saudi Arabia. Nicola, hello. Good to see you. London. Amazing. All right. So it is now 11:03 my time anyways. I'm on Pacific Coast currently. So let's just jump right into it, okay? So the topic for today, obviously, is communication with your partner, right? Really understanding your partner, being able to listen to them effectively and understand them. And to be honest with you, there isn't this whole 2, 3, 4, 5-step strategy when it comes to listening to your partner and understanding. So this is going to be much more of an organic conversation, and just things that I have come to find, obviously with my one-on-one coaching sessions, people that I have helped in the past, and just techniques that I have learned along the way. And the first one, which may seem obvious, but a lot of people kind of forget about, is investing the time, right? We get so caught up in the monotony of life, right? The distractions that we have, the stresses that we have, work, school, kids, errands, all of it. And we have a tendency of stepping away from the relationship, right? We have a tendency of not investing as much time into the relationship because we are so distracted with all of these other things. And it's not always intentional. It just ends up happening that way. So if you are planning on being able to learn to listen and understand your partner a little bit more, you have to be willing to invest the time. So what does that mean? That means that you should be prioritizing. And I mean, potentially, even if you have to in the beginning, scheduling quality time with your partner. So whether you guys go on a date night once a week, Or maybe you guys sit down on the couch and have a 30-minute conversation, on a daily basis just to check in with one another. That initial interaction between the two of you, that rekindling of that connection is usually the first step in order to start to reconnect and communicate effectively with your partner. Because, it's probably been quite some time since you've actually checked in with your partner and seen how they're doing, or vice versa. Them understanding or getting to know what you've been up to, right? It's kind of like the situation. I see this all the time with couples is it's like ships passing in the night. There's a level of comfort there because you've been in a relationship for an extended period of time or a certain period of time. And you almost feel like, okay, well, that person's going to be around forever, so I can get around to it. But that is one of the biggest mistakes that you can make. So invest the time. The other part of this is just being an empathetic individual, right? Putting yourself in their shoes. And it's so easy for us to view everything so subjectively, right? Because the experience is, we are viewing it from our perspective. And in order to actually have effective communication with your partner, in order to actually understand your partner, it is so important to put yourself in their shoes. And for a lot of people, that's difficult to do. So the way that I usually tell people to really think about this is take a step back. If you are having a conversation with your partner and you're not super used to being empathetic or putting yourself into your partner's shoes, if the conversation is getting uncomfortable, or if you are finding that you are starting to really butt heads, right? It is also okay to say, time out. I need a minute, right? I need a break. And in that, take the time to really reflect on the conversation. Invest the time in being consciously aware of the conversation. What was it about? Why did you guys get into a tiff? How did you end up in the circumstance where you had to walk away from the situation? And then try to reverse the roles. So imagine your partner's position, right? And why they're coming from where they're coming from. What if it was you? What if you were in the same situation? One good exercise that you can always do with your partner is, if you are trying to resolve conflict and you're trying to have a conversation, is what I call role reversal, right? So if you come into this conversation and you have one very specific thing that you want to argue, if your tendency is to defend yourself, reverse the roles. Now try to have a conversation with your partner or argue with your partner utilizing their argument. Argue it for them. So then you are able to kind of gain different perspective and understand maybe potentially where they are coming from. And then in turn, your partner may actually gain different perspective on what they are saying, because now they're viewing what they are expressing from an objective standpoint. So there's so many different little things that you can do to start to understand and really listen to your partner. Now, there's multiple different, obviously, techniques when it comes to listening. And one of the most important ones that I always talk about is active listening, right? So active listening is basically when you, and this is going to be obviously a theme of this live, is invest the time. You sit down with your partner. You make sure that you have no distractions whatsoever. And you are present in that moment with your partner. You are looking your partner in the eyes. You are giving physical and verbal cues that you understand what they're saying, right? So you're nodding your head, you're saying the yeses, the ahas. But again, it's not about just saying it robotically, because I can't tell you how many times, and we've all been in that situation, where we're doing the the yes, the and we're not really paying attention. And then your partner goes, "What did I just say?" And we all know that when that happens, the scramble in our brain begins. And we try to latch on to the very last thing that they said. And it is possible that the last thing we heard was from 5 minutes ago, which then shows your partner that you've been completely disconnected and detached from the conversation for the past 5 minutes, which doesn't feel good. It's very dismissive. So making sure that you are consciously aware and you are consciously present in that moment. And another part of active listening is checking for understanding, right? So if there's something that you don't necessarily get, ask. It's not what we say, it's how we say it. So if your partner is saying something and you do not understand them, ask them, hey, look, I didn't really get what you were saying. Do you mind explaining that a little bit to me? Do you mind explaining it in a different way so that I can understand? Instead, what we usually do is we get frustrated because we feel like our partner is not communicating effectively with us. So in turn, we get mad at them, and then it just goes into this whole cycle, right? Sometimes we just got to wave the white flag. And sometimes we have to understand that the process of communication is a two-way street. You know, another thing that I tell my clients all the time is, have you ever sat down with your partner and asked them how they receive information? Because it's not just about how we receive information, it's about how your partner receives information too, right? And what I mean by that is, how would you prefer me to communicate with you when there is an issue? You know, is it something that you would prefer to have a sit down conversation? Is it something that you would prefer to do in passing? What is the tone that you would like to hear? You know, would you prefer me to? There's so many different avenues that we can go down. But the truth is, it really just takes you sitting down with your partner and saying, hey, what is it that you need from me communication wise, so that we can actually resolve our issues? And sometimes we come from that place of, well, why do I have to do all the work? Why do I have to be the one to do this? Why doesn't my partner do this? Right? Sometimes we just got to take the lead. You know, yes, relationships are a two-way street. And it's amazing what you will find when you actually decide to take the initiative and make the active changes that you want to see in the relationship, because oftentimes your partner will follow suit. So putting the ego aside, that's a huge part of communication, right? That's a huge part of really listening and understanding your partner. You cannot have ego involved in that conversation, because if you do, you're just trying to prove your point. You're just trying to be right in the situation. And that never gets us anywhere. And the last part of really listening and understanding, and I saw actually somebody mentioned it in the chat box as I was talking, is love languages, right? If you are not familiar with the love languages, it is something that I highly recommend you study and that you get to know, right? So there is an individual by the name of John Gottman, and he is the one who came up with the 5 love languages, right? Or at least he really kind of researched what he thought the 5 love languages were. And within these, you have physical touch, you have acts of service, you have quality time, right? There's a range of them. And every person has a different love language. So if you are speaking to your partner, right? If you are talking to your partner and you feel like they're just not listening to you, they're just not getting you, maybe it's because your love languages are a little bit different, right? Maybe you draw meaning and fulfillment from physical touch, but your partner draws meaning from quality time. And if you guys are speaking 2 different languages, of course, it's going to be hard for you guys to communicate effectively. So my recommendation would be is to go to Google, type in 5 love languages test, and take the test. See where you fall, see where you land, see where your partner falls. So you have a better understanding as to where you can start. And pretty much, guys, to be honest with you, that's really the basis of communication. That's really the basis of listening and understanding your partner. It's really about investing the time and making it a priority, right? Having check-ins with your partner just to see how they are doing, if it's something that you haven't done in a long time. Asking your partner how they receive message and how they would like to communicate. And you can obviously tell them how you prefer to communicate and all of those things. And if you do not know what you prefer, take some time to get to know yourself and understand what works. And active listening, right? So understanding what that means, really being present in the moment, really engaging with your partner, really checking for understanding, and then understanding the love languages if this is something that you are not familiar with. And again, the individual's name is John Gottman. So what I'm actually going to put that right here. John, the 5 love languages. Sorry, guys. Everybody says that I type really loud, but I kind of like it. So. And his last name is Gottman. All right. Okay, so Obviously, these subjects and these topics are based on questions that I receive from the YouTube comments and DMs and all of those types of things. So I try to create lives around subject matter that you guys have requested. Sometimes I can't get through every single thing. And everybody's circumstance and situation is different, right? So, your situation may be very different from the other person in this chat box. So I always say, if you need more assistance, if you need more support, if you need more help, I'm always happy to sit down and have a one-on-one coaching session with you. I just feel like you're able to be a little bit more productive. I'm able to really understand the situation and kind of give you tailored advice based on your circumstance, your situation. I specialize in helping individuals gain new perspective and really work on communication and reattraction. So that's what I do. So if you are feeling the need to gain a little bit more support and understanding the fundamentals of communication and how to resolve conflict, that's my thing all day long. So I'm going to put in here, give me one sec, guys. I'm going to put in here a link to our website so that you guys know, so that you guys can book a one-on-one coaching session if that's something that you feel like you need. Sorry, give me one sec. I know this is live, so there are going to be little awkward moments in between. That's cool. Perfect. I'm going to put it in here one more time. And then what I'm also going to do is I'm going to provide you guys with my email. So if you have any questions, if you want to book and you're just not 100% sure how to navigate the website, I'd be more than happy to answer those questions for you. So give me one sec. I am not the best at multitasking, so I have to focus on one thing at a time. I don't know if that's a guy thing or just a personality thing, but okay. All right, so I put that in there twice. So what I want to do now is I want to kind of go through the chat and answer any questions that may have come up in the chat. So just give me a second, guys. I'm going to go through here, see what pops up. A little bit of a smaller crowd today, which is totally fine. I like, little intimate settings. That's amazing. AB, how to deal with different love languages. So exactly, perfect. That's what I was talking about. So go on the website, look up John Gottman, look up the 5 love languages and get the book. Read it and understand, or come to understand, what your love language is and what your partner's love language is. And then you can go from there. John Gottman will be able to explain that to you far better than I can. Obviously, I can do that. However, it's going to take a lot longer than what time I have allotted for this live. So my recommendation is get the book, read it. It's fantastic. I think every single person should read that book. It will help you in your relationship. Hotel Oscar Bravo. What's up, man? Aussie in France. That's amazing. Okay, so let's see. So Leonard, I still want her and I am cool with her just being a friend for now, but I do have an ulterior motive to get her back eventually. But this 29th would be our anniversary. So should I go on this lunch? That's a difficult one to answer, my man. And the reason for why I say that, especially when it comes to a live, is because I need to understand and know the dynamics and the circumstances around the breakup. What was the severity of the breakup? Obviously, you guys are still friends. So my assumption would be the breakup either was not that bad or you were able to kind of really resolve whatever issues you had so that you could actually maintain a friendship. But that being said, I would need to know a little bit more about the situation and the circumstance in order to give you some solid advice and recommendations around that. Oftentimes, what I would say is if the relationship is over, right? It's over. You're trying to build something new. You're trying to create a new dynamic. So to utilize the old anniversary to try to create emotion, right, is not always the best idea. You want to create new memories. You don't want to put that person back in the mindset or the mind frame of the previous relationship, right? The last thing that you would want when you're going on a date with somebody or when you're trying to build a new dynamic is to suck the both of you guys back to the past. It's about creating new memories. It's about creating new adventures together. It's about creating new feelings and new emotions. So my recommendation would be the anniversary thing, let that go and create new memories. Let's see. So H2O, I'm not even going to try to pronounce the last part of that. What actually happens to me, my girlfriend always gets mad at me about small things that I do, but never appreciates good things that I do for her. But she always gets mad when I just do something small. Should I be with her or should I stay away? Because I always feel scared of her breaking me apart because she did it to me before. Okay, my man. This is deep. When you use words like my ex broke me, that's something to take a step back and really consider, right? I am never one to recommend that people go back into relationships if there was a level of toxicity within the relationship that was resulting in you losing your sense of self, your sense of self-esteem, your self-identity, confidence, all of those types of things. And if you feel like you are in a relationship in which you are walking on eggshells and you have tried to effectively communicate with your partner, you have asked them how they prefer to receive message, you have actively done the changes, you have invested the time in trying to resolve conflict, you have done the research on your own and really learned about the love languages and done all of those types of things, and you feel like you are at your wit's end, it is very possible that it's just not a match. It is very possible that you just communicate in such different ways that it will be hard for you guys to find a middle ground. So if you feel like you are completely depleted on an emotional level, my recommendation would be to consider taking a step back and really reflecting on the situation and giving yourself enough time with yourself in order for you to really understand what it is you need and you want. Because sometimes when we are just in the thick of it, we are viewing everything like this because we're just trying to survive. We're just trying to get through day to day. And when we put ourselves into that mindset, we have a tendency of getting stuck. So in order to become unstuck, you have to pull yourself away from the situation and gain new perspective, right? It's almost like saying, if you are in the forest, the only thing that you can see are the tree trunks, right? If it's a really tall tree. But if you find a clearing and you're able to climb the mountain, you will gain a completely new different perspective and understand that there are actually the tops to the trees, right? You'll actually be able to see the sky. You'll be able to see the ocean. And I know that's really cheesy and corny, but at the end of the day, it's true, right? We can only see what we can see in that moment, but we have to understand that there are other vantage points. There are other perspectives. And we have to explore those in order to really gain more clarity about what it is that we need and what it is that we want. So that was a very long-winded way of saying, my man, take a step back, reevaluate the situation. If it is not serving you, I would consider stepping away. Kelly, great advice. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Robert, the best advice you can give me. Thank you. I appreciate that. I've been wanting to take this woman out on a date. Finally, this week it's going to happen. The biggest mistake made on the first date. What is the biggest mistake made on the first date? So I would say the biggest mistake that people make on the first date. Ooh, that's an interesting one because I've kind of heard the gamut of it. But I would say not being yourself. That's one of the biggest ones, right? Because at the end of the day, if you're going on a date with this person and you're in your mind, you are looking for a long-term relationship, you want to show this person who you are. You want to show this person the authentic, transparent version of you. Now, what I will say is that there has to be balance, right? There has to be some tact. So if you're an overly sarcastic individual, you might want to do that in doses, right? Because if you just come in straight out the gate with your sarcasm at 100, they may become offended. They may not take that well, right? So it's kind of about microdosing a little bit when it comes to certain aspect of your personality that may not be interpreted correctly until that person gets to know you a little bit better. generally speaking, when it comes to mistakes, if you were, and it really depends on your personality and your character, right? Like if you were looking for something of substance, if you were looking for something that's a little bit more long term, if you're really wanting to kind of build the attraction and all of those things, having sex on a first date is probably not the best idea. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. You know, we've all been there, we've all done that, but it's more so based on what your goals are, and are your actions on that date aligned with what your future goals are? So again, sleeping on a first date, you kind of get rid of all the mystery and the build up and all of those types of things. It's kind of like you go from getting to know somebody to straight to the most intimate thing that you possibly can do. So I would probably say that's another one of the biggest mistakes. As for kissing somebody on the first date, that's not a bad thing. It's really just about reading the room, right? So if there is an energy between you, if there's a synergy and you're really kind of feeling it, and there's kind of like those butterflies, and you know which energy I'm talking about, and you feel like you're getting the same energy from that individual, you know there's a look in the eye, there's a body language, there's proximity and closeness that you start to experience. That's not a bad thing. Kissing on the first date is not a bad thing. But just make sure that that energy is there, that synergy is there, right? Reading the room, that's the biggest thing. Let's see. So Josh, my ex told me she didn't want me to be in her life anymore, and I don't know what that means. Okay. I get this asked all the time, right? People ask me all the time, hey, my ex said this, but what does it actually mean? My response to that is you got to take somebody at face value. So if they are saying to you, I do not want you in my life at all, believe them. Maybe you will say to yourself, I know this person, I know they're just angry, they don't mean it in the moment, I'm going to wait it out, and you can do that. However, take them for their word, at least in that moment. So if she's saying, I don't want you in my life, that means she does not want contact. She does not want to communicate. She does not want to interact. She doesn't want any of those things. So take a step back. Don't interact. Don't engage. And if she's the one that decides to reach back out again, fine. That's different. At that point, you can re-engage, right? But for the time being, that is her setting a very clear boundary. So respect the boundary. Okay, I'm scrolling down. I recommend the book I Hear You by Michael S. Sorensen on this matter. That is actually a great book too, Glenn. I would 100% agree with you. I would definitely do that. Let's see. It was severe. She did it, and it's been since September. Thank you. Again, my man, this one's a little bit more of a difficult situation. I would need to know a little bit more. So how about we do this? You have my email in the chat box. Send me an email privately, and we can carry on that discussion there. Oh my gosh, you guys are totally right. Forgive my brain. This happens to me all the time. I intermix authors all the time. It is Gary Chapman. You are 100% right. So for the 5 love languages, it's Gary Chapman. For some reason, I was thinking of another author, John Gottman, and that's totally different. Gottman is actually an individual who came up with the horsemen of the relationship apocalypse, right? And he also has a relationship game that you can download if you have an Android or an iPhone. And it is for couples who are wanting to reconnect, which is why my mind was on Gottman, but it's actually Gary Chapman. So Grace, thank you so much for that clarification. It is Gary Chapman. You are 100% right. So I'm seeing if there's any other. Okay, so, STTS. Earlier, my boyfriend used to control me a lot, but now he just changed himself. But now he doesn't give me the time and tells me, you want your space now, stay away. What do you do? Please help me. Again, that's going to be a little bit more of a difficult one for me to answer on this live. So I would scroll up on the chat box and find my email and send me an email. How do you, Shinake, I hope I pronounced that right. How do you know if your boyfriend's still in and him give you the silent treatment? I'm not exactly sure. If you can clarify that question, I'll try to answer it. Brandon, how do I effectively move on while being friends with my ex? That one is a little bit of a difficult situation, right? Because in order for you to be friends with your ex, you have to come to a place of emotional neutrality, right? You have to accept what is. You have to understand that at least at this time, you're not going to be in a relationship with them. So if you go into the friendship with no expectations whatsoever, it's a little bit easier to rebuild a friendship. But the one thing that I will tell people all the time that I recommend, depending on your circumstance and your situation, is a little bit of time and space, right? Create a little bit of time and space so that you actually feel like you have at least processed, grieved the relationship, so that you've gained some sense of closure. So you're actually able to build a different dynamic with this person. So the short answer of that is to give yourself some time, give yourself some space, understand that you're going into this with no expectations, and know that there are going to be periods of time that are a little bit uncomfortable because you've changed the dynamic. You know, if you see them flirting with another individual or whatever the case may be, that's going to sting a little bit if you are still emotionally invested in the relationship. But if it hurts enough to the point where it is affecting your day-to-day life, then my recommendation would be to step away from the friendship for a period of time because you're not ready for that friendship. All right, guys, we are at the 30-minute mark. That is actually all the time that I have. Again, for those individuals that I asked you to reach out to me directly with my email, take a look at the comment box here. Actually, I'm going to put my email in here one more time so you guys can have that there in case you guys want to set up a one-on-one coaching session. I would be more than happy to help you guys with that. Other than that, the links are also there to go on our website and book a coaching session if you feel like you need it. I should be doing another live next week. So just be on the lookout for that. If you are on the list, if you have subscribed to our website, to the YouTube and all of that stuff, you should be getting an email letting you know when these lives are happening. I hope you guys are all having an amazing day. And I look forward to seeing you guys on the next live. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.